This is Svein on the SRS channel back again, and today we're gonna have a look at my latest creation that I call the multi-stand. And as you can see, it's one stand that can hold, in this case, 8 figures. There's a potential for adding one more level here, and that means one more row of figures, which is 4 more figures, 12 in total. And this is meant to fit inside IKEA D12, but you can basically have it anywhere you want. And yeah, what I have done here is that let's see if I have one at hand here. I took, hold on a second, need to clear some space here. I basically took one of these. Now this is a work in progress, but I took one. These come in 3 sizes. I bought them at the Panduro Hobby Shop a long time ago, and they come in 3 sizes. It's this one, and it's this size, and there's one bigger. And what I did is that I cut 1/3 of the length, turned it around and glued it on top of the other. And here's how the back look. I didn't bother to paint the underside and the inside there, because first of all I painted it after I glued the parts together, and second, I might consider adding another level to it. But yeah, that's basically what I've done. And the end result is a stand that can hold up to 8 figures. And for those of you who own IKEA D12, for example, or any 1/6 scale collector for that matter, you've seen the regular stands before. Let me move this a little bit out of the way here. Here is a example of a regular stand. There are some stands with a slightly bigger oval plate on them, but this is a standard one from Red Team, and they come with the display or the name tag on the front there, which I've taken out in this case. And what I did is that I reduced this surface down to this. I shaded away quite a lot of the width of the oval shape, and that made room for one more figure in a row, as you can see here, because you can't fit 4 of these side by side in a IKEA D12 shelf. uh, you probably can fit maybe 7 1/6 scale figures on a stand like this if you cram them together, and it will look like a chaos on the shelf. This space right here makes them look more orderly. Each rod is turned 45 degrees here, and they're pointing towards the center. And yeah, initially I wanted to have a like a silver or chrome surface here, so I had these made for the top row and these made for the bottom row, but when I first made them, these panels here, the idea in my head was it was pretty sound. I've glued aluminum foil to a cardboard before, but in this case I got some wrinkles and some bubbles, and it didn't look too good. I have no idea on how that happened, because right after I glued them on, they looked just fine. But I think maybe the sun got to them while the glue was curing on my kitchen table, and maybe some of the glue was still sort of wet. I used plain paper glue, so maybe that created bubbles, and when the next day when I was gonna check on them, they had bubbles, and I tried to wipe them out or get them out of there, but that created the wrinkles that you see here, and it didn't look right. Also, did the failure of not wrapping the aluminum foil all around to the underside of the cardboard, which created a lip that if you brushed against it wrong, you could pull up on the aluminum foil, as you can see there, and that's not good. So in the end I opted to not glue these in. Thank God I didn't. The rods here, they're not glued in though, so in the future if I want to, I can make changes to the surface here if need be, and just put the rods back in there. But yeah, so without further ado, let's see how this stand looks with some figures on it and in a detail shelf. So hold on and I'll be right back. And this is how it looks in a detail. As you can see, the figures require a lot less space for the display stand, which makes room for more figures. In the shelf below you can see 6 figures on a regular standard stand, and maybe you can cram one more stand in there. maybe, but yeah, with this solution I've managed to put 2 more figures on the same shelf, and yet it is still more room for about 4 more figures if I choose to add another level to this multi stand. And though it's you can't see, it really depends on what figure you put in front of another, because some are taller than the others, and they may stand in the way for the figure in the back. As you can see on the row in the back there, the second one from the left is a short body, so the one in front of it is covering it up, but it's one there. But yeah, it's a potential for about 12 figures on one IKEA D12 using this solution, compared to being limited to just 6. But this multi-stand isn't meant for creative and dynamic poses. It's just meant to be a stand for several figures for storage, though it's not too bad in my opinion. I could have I think there is a possible room for more than one level, but you can't get many more rows in there. I think a 4th row on this stand, you can probably make it, but yeah, I think it would be difficult. But 3 rows and 4 figures on each row, I think is the very limit. I've done one for 8 figures here, and I can put 3 figures on a regular stand in front of it if I want to. But the problem is, how much can the shelf take as far as weight goes? I think in the instructions on the IKEA D12 it says no more than 2.5 kilos on each shelf, and I'm not sure how much this stand and these 8 figures weigh altogether, but I think this is a limit here. What I would have done different is probably given each row more space in the depth by just having more distance from the back and to the edge of the first row there, and from the first row and to the edge of the second a little bit more, to give some more space between the rows. But yeah, that's 2 more figures than on the shelf below, and they're not even in a very dynamic pose here either. But you could probably cram 1 more figure using a regular stand in there. Here there's a potential for 4 more. Also, that would mean 12 figures on one shelf. And if it wasn't for the weight limit on each shelf, that would be 48 figures, I believe, in one D12. So yeah, there is that. Yeah, so that was my video on this what I call the multi-base or multi-stand. And yeah, I still like the idea after I've seen it with figures on it. When I made this template for putting the holes in for the rods there, I had in my mind that figure, my intention was using it to store the TB League seamless bodies on them, and particularly the bodies I'm just gonna use for reference, so I can check skin tones and stuff. There was no need for these bodies to have a particular pose and stuff, but when I tried this stand with the poses I had the figures in already, I didn't want to change the poses, so I put them on the stand with the poses they had, and they're basically just standing straight up and down with a knee out or an elbow out and stuff like that. And it looked fine. It looked like a group photo shoot. But in hindsight, I think I would have maybe on my next attempt on multi-stand, I will probably go for a 9-figure stand instead of a 8, and have 3 on each row, and have 3 rows instead. Maybe that will be better, giving them I already have 3 of these regular stands in a row, and I can fit 2 rows on one IKEA shelf. But if you have them straightforward like this on the shelf, I don't think you can fit 3 in a row, but you can probably fit 3 rows. So no matter how much you twist and turn on it, you're gonna end up with just 6 figures as a maximum on one IKEA detail shelf using these. And as I said, maybe 7 if you cram 1 extra in there. With this solution, or this concept right here, I managed to put 2 more figures in there with room for 1 more row if I want to. If I make a second version of this and I put only 3 rods in each row and make 3 rows, I can put 1 more figure in there on a shelf than on this display stand, because I'm not sure if the glass shelves in a IKEA detail will gonna hold the weight of 12 figures if the limit is like 2.5 kilograms on each shelf. But on the bottom one, the wooden bottom shelf, it will be fine. It can be used to put the 12 figures on it, just to reduce the amount of figures on the other shelves. But knowing me, I'll fill that room up pretty quickly anyway. So, but my point is that the regular stands and most of the diorama bases and stuff for the 1/6 scale figures, they take up way too much space. This doesn't have to be an oval. All it needs to do is to support the stand or the rod piece so it won't tip over by the weight of the figure. It doesn't need this support base for the figure to stand on. The figure only needs something to hold it up, because most of the figures they can stand on their own, but we use the stands just for the extra safety, just in case someone bumps into the shelf or there's an earthquake or whatever, and that little vibration or bump or whatever tips the figure over because the balance was so fine-tuned that it was just standing because it was allowed to stand on a calm surface. And over time, the 1/6 scale figures tend to get weaker in the joints, so in the end the ankle joints and stuff might get loose and the figure won't stand on its own, and that's the only reason why they need the stand. But they don't need more space on the shelf than this. And maybe even this is too much, but if you look at it from the top and down at the figure, and if the figure is standing there straight up and down in a museum pose, it doesn't require much space to stand on the shelf. So I probably could have gotten away with even less of this if I wanted. But this would probably be enough just to support the stand and put the figure on it. But the figure, it will require a certain amount of space when you're looking down from the top anyway. So there's a limit to how much you can reduce the space to, and not just because you're gonna have several figures next to it, but because there's no use in reducing the base or ground space any less than what space the figure takes when looking down at it. Anything around the figure that you can see from the top down, that should be space for another figure to stand on. But as I said, this isn't meant for like Hot Toys figures and Star Wars figures and certain figures that you want to have in a pose on display. This is meant to store a figure that you're not using for example, photography or something like that. This is just to have for the figure to have somewhere to stand, and it fits in a detail so the figure can be protected from dust. It's really no point in putting this on an open shelf where the figure gets exposed to dust and stuff. It's just a practical space saver for a IKEA detail shelf for storing figures, and that's just about it. And yeah, so this was the video on my latest creation, the multi-stand. I might have to copyright that one, but yeah, there you have it. Hope you liked the video, guys. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And as always, go nuts in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.